I'll never forget the moment I turned 18. In what seemed like a rare moment of celebration for me, my parents handed me the keys to a bright red 2010 Mustang GT. They called it a gift, but to me, it was freedom. The promise of endless late-night drives, music blasting through the speakers, and the solitude of the open road that had always called to me. I washed it, waxed it, cared for it, and even gave it a name. Scarlett. She wasn't just a car, she was a part of me. So when I came home from work one day to find the spot where Scarlett had always parked empty, my heart dropped. At first I thought someone had stolen it. My mind raced. I bolted into the house and in a panic demanded to know what had happened to her. My dad barely looked up from the TV in his usual nonchalant way. "Oh, we sold it," he said like he was talking about getting rid of an old couch. "Needed the extra money for Olivia's wedding." Wait, what? They had sold my car. The car they gave me without even telling me. For my sister's wedding. Olivia's wedding. And not just any wedding. An over-the-top dream wedding. Designer dresses, a venue that looked like a fairy tale castle, an open bar, the whole shebang. They had already set aside $20,000, but that wasn't enough. They needed more. And where did they go for that? My Mustang. What stung was the fact that the car wasn't even in my name. It was technically in my dad's name, which meant legally they could do whatever they wanted with it. But morally? It felt like a knife to my gut. A betrayal I could never overlook. Olivia had been the center of attention for as long as I could remember. She got everything she wanted. The best clothes, the most praise, the love and admiration of our parents. I got whatever was left. But this was different. They didn't even have the decency to ask me. Scarlett, my car, was just collateral damage in Olivia's quest for the perfect wedding. I was furious. I didn't speak immediately. I just stood there, staring at my father. I felt a mixture of rage and disbelief boiling beneath the surface. He gave me a half-hearted apology, some excuse about how this was all for the family, and that Olivia deserved this. But it didn't feel like an apology. It felt like he was just trying to shut me up. I went to my room and slammed the door. I didn't cry. I was too angry to cry. I was going to make them pay for this. They thought they could just take something from me and get away with it. They were about to learn exactly how wrong they were. For the next few days, I kept my distance. I watched Olivia, all giddy and glowing, running around the house like a princess. She had no idea what my parents had done, or maybe she did, and just didn't care. Either way, the sight of her made my blood boil. Meanwhile, my parents were too busy with wedding plans to notice how angry I was. The caterers, the flower arrangements, the rehearsal dinner. It was all anyone talked about. Every time they brought it up, all I could think about was Scarlett sitting in someone else's driveway, the car they had sold without even asking me, and that's when it hit me. I wasn't going to let this go. Not this time. It wasn't just about the car, it was about everything. The years of being pushed aside, the constant favoritism, the way my parents had made it crystal clear that Olivia always came first. Always. If they were going to throw this massive wedding for their perfect daughter, I was going to make sure they remembered it for a very different reason. The idea came to me when I overheard Olivia talking to her fiancé, Ryan. I wasn't eavesdropping on purpose, but she had a loud voice. She was complaining about something insignificant, napkin colors, table runners, when Ryan, her fiancé, seemed less than enthusiastic. That's when I saw it. Ryan was the weak link. He was the type of guy who just went along with whatever because it was easier than confronting Olivia. He complained to my dad about how expensive the wedding was getting, and I saw the cracks in their relationship. He wasn't happy. And I could use that. I started gathering information. Olivia loved to talk. About herself, about her relationship, about her plans. And in all her ramblings, I noticed things. Little things. Ryan didn't want to move to the city she had picked out. He didn't want her to quit her job to be a wife. It was clear he was already on edge. All he needed was a push. That push came when Ryan stopped by one afternoon. Olivia and my mom were out dealing with wedding details, and I was in the garage pretending to organize tools. When Ryan walked in looking for a beer, I saw my chance. I kept my tone casual, but inside, I was plotting. "Must be tough," I said, pretending to empathize. "I mean, you're paying for part of the wedding, right?" He nodded and took a swig of beer. I pressed on. "I guess it's worth it, if you're sure she's the one." Ryan hesitated. That was all I needed. He muttered, "Yeah, sure," but it didn't sound convincing. That was my opening. Olivia's always been intense. She's used to getting her way. But hey, if you're okay with it, more power to you. Ryan didn't respond, but his face told me everything I needed to know. I had planted the seed of doubt, subtle. And it was enough to stir something inside him. Days went by, and I watched as things slowly started to unravel. Ryan became more distant. Olivia, of course, noticed. They fought, loudly, and I knew this was it. Then came the engagement party, Olivia's dream event, a fancy hall, live band, professional photographer, the works. My parents had helped pay for it, and I went only because skipping it would have been too obvious. But I wasn't there for the fun. I was there for the destruction. The party started well enough. Olivia was basking in the attention, her friends and family around her, while Ryan seemed off. He wasn't as enthusiastic as he should have been. And then, during a toast, everything fell apart. A friend of Olivia's went on and on about how perfect they were for each other. And in that moment, I saw it. Ryan's smile faltered. That was when the argument broke out. Olivia stormed into a side room with Ryan following reluctantly. They were shouting, "What's wrong with you?" Olivia's voice rang out, full of frustration. "You don't care about this wedding. You don't care about me." Ryan snapped. "Maybe it's because I'm drowning in all this wedding crap. You don't listen. You don't care about what I want." And just like that, everything I'd been waiting for had finally happened. Olivia, in all her glory, couldn't handle someone standing up to her. The fight escalated quickly. Ryan stormed out of the room, left, and I stood in the background, smirking. The perfect wedding, the perfect night, shattered in an instant. The next day, I learned from one of Ryan's friends that he had called off the wedding that night. He couldn't take Olivia's selfishness and inflated expectations anymore. It was over. And that's when everything started to fall apart for Olivia. My parents tried to spin the narrative, of course. They blamed Ryan and said he was a coward, but the damage was done. 3 months passed. I moved away, bought an old truck with some of the money from selling Scarlet, and started fresh. No more constant reminders of my family. No more Olivia. I didn't miss them. Not at all. Then, one night, I ran into Ryan at a bar. He'd moved to my town, and we got to talking. "I should thank you," he said. "If you hadn't said what you did, I might have gone through with it. You saved me a lifetime of headaches." For the first time in a long time, I felt vindicated. I wasn't just some pawn in Olivia's game. I had stood up for myself. And I had won. But what happened next? Stay tuned. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss the next twist in this crazy saga. Trust me, the story is far from over.